In advance of the Subway series taking place in New York City next week, I'm just going to briefly say a few words about these two. Pairing of a painting and a sculpture in the gallery here. For the past year or so, I've been continuing old interest in a new project, to create a model and painting that would depict the compression of space and time that's such an inherent part of digital communication today, and particularly a challenge for how to represent the human body in painting, representational painting. And I've come up with a new process for producing paintings that uses other mediums, namely sculpture, photography, and printing. So I'm just going to briefly go through this process and then talk about why that process became interesting or important to me. In the case of this painting, I started with a very bland, iconic image of baseball, of pitcher and batter. I had friends model in the position of each player, in which I cast a light on them and projected a shadow to each side of them on a wall. I took a picture of them and each of their shadows. I long took the shadow in my work to represent the body in its non-corporeal state, whether that be, through email, texting, social media, any way other than when you're present with the person. So I use these images, photographic images, to produce a drawing. And from this drawing, I produce a very laborious three-dimensional sculpture relief to create a kind of relief space of the drawing. I then take a picture of this sculpture and digitally warp and stretch images into it. About 6 or 7 years ago, I started digitally trying to find a model for how the human body could be seen as present to us now, and I came up with a model of if you're present physically with your body, you're also present to me through other digital platforms, a way we communicate. Maybe a way I could create a model of your overall presence to me would be to compress your digital body with an image of your physical body. So I warped the shape of the body of the player into the shape of the shadow. And then along with that, I compressed the two logos of the teams. So then I print that file out on canvas, and the last stage is to a final layer of applied gestural marks and paint, oil paint. So along the way, the last year, I've kind of really become interested in conflating the shallow space of modernist painting and relief sculpture from 70, 80 years ago with the shallow space of the screen. And I think it started to make sense to me because both kind of challenge or present an alternative conception of space to conventional perspectival Albertian space. So this process became important to me because I wanted to come up with a way that the process I used to compose paintings actually echoed the way the world is composed and we experience space now. In particular, what I wanted to stress was that this kind of analog sculpture was the object. It literally created this world, in the sense that when we experience digital space now, we take for granted through the cloud or all the lifestyle fantasies of dematerialization. But this whole digital network we use is anchored in a very analog substratum or referent, whether that's internet infrastructure, wires, cables, server farms, and above all, human labor. So the process I started using to make paintings, I wanted to echo the way we actually experience the world. The other thing this process allowed me to, I hope to do, was to free up paint to have a different kind of agency within the painting itself, and that in being the last stage in the process, the paint is put into this very conflicted position of, as it almost always I use it to be subservient to, remarking over the print. The main function of the paint above all is to just re-articulate the materiality of the surface. And in doing that, it's put into an awkward position that it's, it's no longer burdened by having to represent the world, because that's been taken care of by the printing process. But at the same time, it's not freed up to be itself because it's subservient to the dictates of the print underneath. So it's in this kind of conflicted space of like, what am I doing here? Which I kind of think it could be absent painting in general. It's an archaic form. It's hard to find a new function for it, new agency for it. So this process has been sort of my attempt to try to find a new agency for it. So this idea of the relief, the template, the sculptural relief, as a kind of empty repository of information, almost like an operating system. I kind of use it to put different things into it, and the different experiments I've done with the new series of paintings have been to see what I can do with this new idea. The whole series, I've started to call it model as painting. So in the case of this particular work, which we just punked because of the actual annual showdown happening next week, I was interested in the Subway series as a subject for painting because as a kind of sports fan, or I would actually say as a resident of New York, it's like kind of unspoken sacrilege to like both teams. To have an identificatory relationship to both teams. So I was like, how can I make an image of this game, And I said, well, I could just compress the logos into the shapes of the bodies, players, and their shadows. And so initially that was like, I was interested in that because I was like, maybe I'd found a way that absolutely nobody could like, or really identify with this painting. And it would be like a situation in which everybody loses, which is, it's like get your chocolate and my peanut butter or something. It's like a very vulgarly literal situation of alienation for a fan of either team. The flip side of the Subway series is it's like this celebration of the competitive spirit of New York. So in that sense, sort of everybody wins, So this push and pull between confrontation and identification, I saw as really allegorizing what goes on with anything. Do I like it or do I hate it, or is it just whatever, nothing, or is this monstrosity worth talking about at an event like this? But I thought it just, is involved in, I guess, as what Pete's going to talk about, meaning production in any painting goes through this push and pull. So, thanks.